There, go from beginning.
Sir,
You good, Lisa?
you good?
I believe so.
Okay.
All
Yep,
right.
we
I'm
are
going
finally good.
to call to order the 180th and hopefully final annual town meeting of the town of Lisbon at the community room at the Richard Young Fire Station at North 54 West 26455 Lisbon Road on Tuesday, April 19th, 2022 at 7:11 PM. Roll call, please. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, no roll call. I'm so used to normal meetings. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, item 3 is introduction of elected officials. We have our newest board member, Paula Quinn, Becky Plotecker, I'm Chairman Osterman, Mark Moonen. We have Linda Beal. I guess pretty much everybody
Administrator-
here is.
Administrator Kathy Nicholas.
And Clerk Elise Capazzo.
We have DPW Director Joe Stefano. Lisa Panis from the Sheriff's Department, and Michelle in the background, our Fire Chief, Brian, the Building Inspector, and Mike from the Parks Department.
Scott,
Actually, everybody here is.
Joan.
Oh,
Tricia.
Joan. Our treasurer, sorry, Joan. All right. Item 4, approval of the minutes from the 2021 179th annual meeting. So we have the minutes. Does anyone have any corrections or is there a motion on the minutes?
I make a motion, we accept as typed.
By Linda Beal. Is there a second? Second. Mark Moonen. All right, anyone that is an elector in the town of Lisbon can vote on these minutes. Is there any discussion on the minutes from anyone? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. All right, we'll move on. I'm going to move item 6 then up, which is presentation approval of the 2021 annual audit report. Wendy.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you have in front of you a several-page handout. That is the document. Should look like this. I'll use that to go through the audited financial statements and reporting insights documents that you should have received electronically for distribution. Again, this is a very high-level summary. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have as I move through the presentation. I'll do my best to answer them as we go through. On the first page of the handout, I've highlighted the results of the audit. The objective of the audit was to issue an opinion on the financial statements of the town. We've done that. We've issued a clean, unmodified opinion. That's the highest level of assurance that you can obtain from us as your auditors. That clean, unmodified opinion means that the information contained within the audited booklet is materially accurate, that all the disclosures that are required to be included have been included, generally accepted accounting principles have been adhered to, and that accounting principles have also been consistently applied from year to year. I will just note, if you're an individual that compares booklets from year to year, the opinion looks in a different format. Just a new auditing standard that was applicable that changed the format, but content is still the same. So just wanted to note that. Moving to the next page, this is where I've highlighted the governmental funds for the town. There are 5 columns there. Those are the actual results. All of this information is contained within your audited statements in much more detail, but I'll just go through it and quickly hit some of the high points. So the first column, there's the town general fund, $6.7 million of actual revenue compared to a $6.2 million compared to $6.2 million of expenditures. For 2021, the town's general fund added $500,000 to its fund balance. Very positive result. Main reason for that is on your revenue side, significant increase over what was anticipated for ambulance services. That was up over $600,000 over budget. You did have an increase on the expense side, but nowhere near the increase in revenue. So overall, that was one of the largest components. Also, building permits, construction is up $210,000 more than budget. So that was additional revenue sources. Also some additional state aid. So again, your revenues really were significant when compared to what you had anticipated. When you add the $500,000 to the general fund beginning fund balance, you end the year at almost 4.7 million of fund balance. I've broken out the components of that down below. 45,000 is non-spendable. Those are monies that you have spent, but you haven't recognized the expense yet. So to give you an example, prepaids. You prepay your January insurance in December, you don't recognize it as an expense till January. So it sits on your balance sheet, but the cash is gone. You have $194,000 of monies that are assigned. The main piece of that is monies that the town has set aside for other post-employment benefits. So future retirements, 170 of that, 170,000 of that is for that purpose. The remaining balance, 4.4 million, is what is in your unassigned category. That is your rainy day contingency money. You do have a policy in place that requires that amount to be between 20 and 30%, 20 on the low side, 30 on the higher side. That 30% of your operating budget is 1.2 million. So that is included in that 4.4 million. So the residual, let's say 3.2 million, is in excess of what your policy requires. So again, a very solid financial position, and within your general fund, having the excess reserves allows you to have some negotiability when you go to the bond market, affords you a little bit lower interest rate due to your position. The next column is your debt service fund. You levy a tax, you pay principal and interest on town debt. Included in that 2.2 million, just a couple things I want to mention. Remind you, there's 400,000 from your land sale that occurred during 2021. So that's included in that revenue, along with some monies that came in from the general fund, $340,000. You spent 1.8 million on principal and interest. You added 400,000 to fund balance and had 424,000 as of the end of the year. All of that fund balance in your debt service fund is restricted. It can only be used for debt service purposes until the debt of the town is paid in full. Your next column is your capital project fund, $785,000 of revenue. A good portion of that is the sinking fund monies that you budget for in your general fund. 442,000 comes out of your general fund into here for future equipment needs within your public safety and highway categories. 240,000 is taxes. And then there is the remaining balance that comes in from Merton for snowplows. You spent $214,000 on some road projects and some highway equipment. You added 570,000 to fund balance and had almost 1.6 million in your capital project fund as of the end of the year, and that is earmarked and committed for future capital needs. The next column is the TID, your tax incremental financing district, $3.6 million of revenue. Reminder, you borrowed during 2021. So a good chunk of that is borrowed money, 3.36 million. You also got a CDBG grant for 250,000. That is the remaining portion of that. You spent 2.27 million, or the TID spent 2.27 million on the project. You added 1.4 million to an already deficit position within that fund and ended the year with $525,000 of a deficit fund balance, but you did see an improvement in that balance over the previous year. Lastly, the non-major governmental funds column. These are the remaining funds of the town, really made up of 7 additional funds. Most of them don't have any activity or significant activity. The funds that had the most activity is your park fund, your building fund, and your compost fund. All of those added to fund balance except for the compost fund that went into actually a deficit position during 21 of $7,000. The remaining funds remained at a positive position. The one thing I do want to mention is included in these 7 additional funds is the ARPA fund. So if you recall, you received ARPA funding through the federal government. You have $556,000 of unspent money from 2021. That revenue is not included in the charts that I presented. That's still sitting on the balance sheet. It'll come through as revenue when you start to spend it. So you'll see that transition. So again, in these figures, that 556 is not sitting in any of the fund balance. So just wanted to mention that. You'll also be getting another $500,000 coming up in the next couple of months with the second tranche, which is all due to be spent by the end of 2024. On the next page of the handout, this is the Stormwater Fund. Very consistent activity with the previous year. Operating income roughly $74,000. The revenues and expenses very close to prior year activity. The only item I will note is that I have it labeled transfer, and that is inaccurate. It's a capital contribution. That is stormwater infrastructure that was part of the TIT project. And what happens is that gets donated back over to the town and gets recorded as a capital asset within that storm fund. So not really a revenue, but it does get recognized on a within that statement as revenue. You increased your net position by $543,000 at 1.6 million in net position as of the end of the year. Of that 1.6, $367,000 is cash, which is all unrestricted and available for spending at your discretion. And that cash position is an $82,000 increase over the previous year. So it's cash flowing, it's adding, it's paying its bills, and generating excess cash for future needs. On the last page of the presentation, I've just included a very high-level summary of the other document we issue as part of the audit process, which is the reporting and insights document. Similar to the previous years, we include a segregation of duties comment surrounding the property tax collection process. It's really all hands on deck when it's that time of the year and a proper segregation does not occur. Also, we prepare the financial statements and do some audit entries. That is also referred to as a material weakness. Neither of those comments are unusual or unexpected for organizations such as the town. But again, we do need to bring those to your attention, and they are included in a bit more detail in that report. Under the other comments and recommendations, I would just remind more management than the board, but there will be a new governmental accounting standard, or a GASB, effective for all governmental entities for 2022. It's a new lease standard. It will change how leases are accounted for within municipalities. They will no longer get expensed. They will flow through as an asset and a related liability. We'll work through that with management, but the most important thing to remind everybody of, need to start inventorying what leases you may have, vehicles, copy machines. Materiality does come into play, but when you start to think about it, there's probably more than what you really think you have. So land, facilities, equipment, cars, anything of that nature. So we will work with management to accomplish that. Last paragraph on this page, I've included my direct line. I've included my email address. Go through this very quickly, but I'm happy to talk with any of you about any of the audited information or what we do in more detail if you so choose, but I'd also be happy to answer any questions you might have now.
Any questions from anyone on the audit?
No.
So I just have one thing, the separation of duties for taxes. So for this year's taxes, we actually had the county collect taxes.
Okay.
So that should
Should go away.
should go away for
away.
next year. Okay.
Wonderful.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. Yep.
I don't think I noted that before.
Any questions from anyone? We have no one on Zoom. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to town board and department reports. We have the town supervisor report, which really have nothing to report on at this time. Building inspections.
Brian's going to come up and speak.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Ailhoff, the building inspector for the town of Lisbon. And as you can probably see from the PowerPoint, they've been keeping me kind of busy lately. As a comparison, in 2020, we had 985 permits. 27 of those out of the 985 were new homes. So when I say 985 permits, that's water heaters, furnaces, sheds, decks, pools of that nature. In 2021, we jumped up to 1,100 total permits, but the real jump was 90 out of those 1,100 permits were new home starts. And so far, as of this year, we have 28 new home starts, and as of today, we actually hit 35, but this is as of April 1st. And in 2021, we had 22 new home starts as of April 1st. 2021 also showed we had 2 new subdivisions and 1 rather large commercial project on Richards Road, our first one on Richards. 2022 has a start of possibly 3 developments. And right now we've got 2 new commercial projects that are relatively large. And last year we had the Parade of Homes, which had 6 homes. And then after the Parade of Homes, you usually have some kind of residual feedback because obviously they want to sell off of it. But this year it's almost in reverse. We have the Parade of Homes this year. We have 9 entrances into the Parade of Homes, but there's 11 that are actually in that circle, if that makes sense. So they're kind of riding on the coattails of everyone else. But it's surprising to me that where the Parade of Homes is located, there's a lot of people are in the parade that had already sold a home. So I guess what that's indicating to me is that it's a hot area, the town of Lisbon. So it's growing and it's going to continue to grow. So, and that's it. You guys got any questions or anything or comments?
Questions from anyone?
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
So just moving a little bit more on that, Brian mentioned our commercial and homes. We have 8 subdivisions that are being developed between 21 and 22. I've got those listed. And he mentioned the Parade of Homes. That's going to be in Twin Pine Farms 3 subdivision.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the fire department. Chief Greger.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Michelle Drager. I'm the interim fire chief. So I'm briefly going to talk about some of the statistics from last year. We had another record-breaking year of 1,512 calls. We were up from the previous year. And just some of the main categories of those calls, 47, as you can see, were fire calls with an estimated loss of $457,000. 514 pre-hospital emergency calls, EMS calls, 359 interfacility transports out of Frederick Menominee Falls, 48 motor vehicle accidents, 36 responses to hazardous conditions, 41 false alarm calls, 55 service calls, and 220 well-being, good intent canceled calls. And that's what we got for the fire department for statistics. So unless anybody has anything else for me at this time,
Any questions for anyone on the fire department?
a nice brief report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff's Department.
I think everybody knows me, Lisa Panis with the Sheriff's Department. Our calls for service are up there. I do have a comparison from 2020. We went up from 3,179 calls for service, so we increased a little bit. Traffic enforcement, we were up from 602 traffic stops. So we went up there as well, up from 154 traffic citations. Drug calls, we are down from 21, which is good. We're seeing less. If we go over to calls for service, 300 911, 98 alarms, 89 animal, 12 burglary, 54 DVs, and 33 suicide attempts. Questions at all?
Any questions?
We're staying busy.
It looks like it.
Yeah, there's a lot out there, so.
Wow.
That should do it.
All right,
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right, Public Works.
Hope you're comfortable in those seats. Mine's a little longer, so not gonna slam through it. Got a few pages, but Joe DeStefano Jr., Public Works Director for the town of Lisbon. And yeah, Scott Appley is the highway foreman, Mike Lund, Parks foreman. So they're both here tonight, so thank you for that. And the DPW oversees it's kind of an umbrella over the highway department and the parks department. We did a little restructuring early last year, cleaned up some things, and everything went really well, and it seems to be running really well. So that's a good thing. So we obviously oversee all the right of ways, starting with your road maintenance to the shoulder, to the ditch, the culvert, the signs, and then the compost site. We cover all the town-owned parks, the events, recycling events we put on, our brush pickup, the list goes on and on, but there's so many things that we do, you kind of forget actually, just the little stuff, the election setup and all that. So, but it's nice because you don't get bored. So that's the fun part about it, I think. We did add a new position in the highway department last year. So we actually added seats in the room. So that's nice. We're just getting busier. The town's obviously not getting any smaller. And that was a big help to us last year. Compost site. So I'm sure most of you know, obviously, we moved the compost site a little west of the existing location. Somewhat of a work in progress still, but awesome place. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's turning out nice. It's roomier. It's really nice. So I have a shed will be getting built and put in place here within the next couple of months. And once brush pickup's over, we're going to add some more gravel to just extend the footprint out there, because we got the room. We just need to go. It's a time thing. So we got it good enough so they could open and function, but we want to do a little more there and make it even better. So we're working on that. We bring in approximately 8,000 yards of brush and yard waste each year. The brush is ground in the mulch, which then is put back out to residents. We get way more mulch than we can even give out. So we have other ways to get rid of that, but the yard waste is ground up in the compost. We turn it into beautiful black compost, and that's a very sought after item at the compost site. So people take it home to their gardens and whatnot. And that's about it on the compost site. Parks Division covers about 165 acres of town-owned green space. Obviously, you guys are well aware of Lisbon Community Park, beautiful 120-acre park that kind of a diamond in the rough. Not many people know about it, but when they do find out about it, they're always shocked and impressed how nice of a park it is. So kudos to the Parks Department on that. So 2021 accomplishments for the park. We hired with John's passing and everything changing on, we kind of restructured everything. We hired staff to get back on track over there. It was tough for a little bit. Mike was out there by himself and just a lot going on. So now we got 2 full-time guys there, and then we get the summer help. And the nice thing is the way we moved it around, we moved Mike. Well, Mike was always in one, but John never was. So Mike and Jeff are both in plow trucks. So it helps out on the highway end. Just plowing the whole town makes things a lot easier. So that was nice how we reworked all that. So come June of last year, Mike had his full staff and he was able to get caught up a little bit. We completed a very extensive facelift of the 9/11 Memorial and the Jane Stadler Memorial Park ahead of the 20th anniversary for the 9/11 event. We also did a extensive facelift at the Stony Hellquest Park, cleaned up equipment, painted, just pressure washing, just kind of, brought it back. And it was very nice looking. And, our goal here is to keep all parks in above standard state for our guests. This year, we're going to be completing the paving of the Lake 5 bike path. The ball is rolling on that. Should go out to bid within the next month or 2, I'd say. We're just working out some things with the sizing of the path and all this other stuff, but it's rolling. We have a full replacement of the playground at the Stone Family Park off of Plainview Road. So pretty big project we're taking on, and I think it'll be fun. A lot of work, but it should be fun when it's all said and done. And then we'd like to always continue to operate a safe and efficient department. Switch gears a little bit onto the highway department. We have, if you're unaware, a residential drop-off site at the highway shop for used drain oil, used antifreeze and oil filters. It's actually a very popular little site. It's unmanned, it's open 24/7, 365, and then it gets pumped out and everything gets taken and recycled. But last year we had 8,150 gallons of waste oil recycled, 605 gallons of antifreeze recycled, and 11 drums of used oil filters recycled. We also put on a recycling event in September of last year. We also have one coming up in September of this year. And that's appliance recycling, electronic recycling, and our tire roundup. When COVID hit and April was prime with everything going on, we moved everything to September. And now we've just stuck with that, and it's kind of worked out well. So tire roundup historically was always in April, but now we've been doing it in September with this event. So last year we recycled 156 appliances, 5,669 pounds of electronics, so computers, TVs, etc., and 124 tires got collected. Tires kind of come and go. 1 year it's 50, 1 year it's 200. Kind of crazy how that always changes. But and then in 2021, we had 23 winter weather events, approximately 49 inches total of snow, 1,007 ton of salt were used, and 2,440 gallons of calcium chloride. And I just got to give kudos to my guys because I'm pretty confident. I know we have probably one of the best, if not the best, plowing crew in the county. So I take a lot of pride in that, and I know the guys do. So, but we hear it from residents driving from our municipality to others, and it makes us feel good. So it makes you want to do a better job. But I don't know, kudos to them, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be saying that right now. Some goals for the highway department is to finish the compost site. Obviously it's open, it's going, but the shed, electrical, some lighting, some stuff like that, we're going to work on this year. Continue to maintain our roads in a safe, passable condition. We want to respond to residents' concerns in a timely manner, work with the town engineer to identify and plan for future projects. We always try to, COVID screwed that up a little, but we try to get involved with, hands-on training, not just internet training. To me, just doesn't do a whole lot. You sit there and watch it and it's boring. We like to go to training, hands-on, do stuff. So we're getting back into that this year. We do a half a dozen things a year, and that's nice. So we'll be continuing that this year. And we're also looking at working on a big concrete culvert we like to replace at the north end of the Plainview Parkway. That's been failing for a couple of years, but it's off the road surface. So we've been able to kind of kick it down the road a little bit. But that's a project we'd like to do this year. And otherwise, yeah, my big thing is just to thank my guys, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't probably be as good looking up here as I am. So, but anyways, so yeah, I thank you to them. They do the best. And we've kind of worked this crew over the years to be a pretty stout crew of guys. And there's a lot of laughs, but a lot of work gets done. And I think everybody actually doesn't mind coming to work. It doesn't even feel like work. So, but thank you. And I'll take any questions if there are any.
You do a great job, Joe, and
Thank
your
you. We
team.
try. Yeah, well, we appreciate it. Thank you. You keep saying that, so that's why I gotta just keep saying that every time I'm up. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
But anything?
Any other
Good.
questions from anyone? Thank you, Joe.
All right.
All right. Town hall report.
So our accomplishments for 2021, we updated the comprehensive plan and the land use map. We started working with a new cooperative boundary agreement with Sussex that's been turned in 22 to DOA, and we expect that back next week, Tuesday. We've completed the employee manual. We had 2 elections that were run successfully, and we reevaluated all the property last year in the town.
Any questions?
Elisa's gonna do the election.
So in 2021, it was a quiet election year. We only had 2 elections. We did have the February primary. We had 7,900 registered voters. We had 545 turnout, which is 6.8% turnout, which is not unusual for a February primary. Of the 504 absentees that were mailed, 199 of them were returned, which was 39%. And we did have 3 new registrations. And then the April 6th spring general election, which was for the Superintendent of Public Schools, Court of Appeals, Circuit Court, Town Board, and school districts. We were at 7949 for registered voters. And we did have just over 1,800 turn out for that for 23.2%. 729 absentees were mailed, 469 of those were returned for a 64% return rate, and we had 11 new voter registrations. It was also the implementation of our Badger Book, the electronic poll books, and we've now gone through 3 elections with them to date. And all of our poll workers have had very good things to say about how easy they are to use, as well as our voters. So that was 2021.
Thank you.
Questions for the clerk?
Joan?
All right.
Hi, I'm Joan Seifert, the treasurer of the town of Lisbon. And this year, the goal was to pay down debt, so we paid off 2 loans, 2 promissory notes. One was from 2011 and the other one was 2014. They both were refinance of old debt. And we paid off the trunk radio. We are going to pay off the 2012 promissory note will be paid off in August, and we're working on paying off the state, the state. I
Trust fund.
lost it. Yeah, the state revenue trust loan. Interest rates have decreased, however, by 88% since 2019. So they went down quite a bit in 21. They were like half. And then in 20, and then in 21, they went down to $11,000. And that's because most interest rates are at like 0.01%. I did negotiate a 0.2% rate for the money market account for 2 years. And also we have 2 CDs that are held as collateral, and this is a collateralized rate. I could have got higher, but I needed it to be collateralized. And the brokerage account I closed in July of 21 because it was losing money. That was the state trust fund loan. I just thought of it, is what we're going to be paying off. Okay, any other questions?
Anything for Joan? Thank you, Joan.
Thank you. So finally, our 2022 projects for the town, we're going to continue working on incorporation. We'll complete the boundary agreement, like I mentioned, with Sussex. That will be done next Tuesday. We continue to move on the build out of TID number 1 or Business Park East. We're going to review the Lisbon Code, preparing for 2023 changes. And I'm going to review the health insurance. We also, in 2020, we purchased Laserfish, and we've been slowly working on scanning. And we're going to continue working on that in 2022 as a project. And that's the town's report.
Question? Thank you. All right, we'll move on then to item 7, which is discussion and necessary action on any other powers of a town meeting as defined in section 60.10 of the Wisconsin statutes. Basically, does any elector have anything they wish to bring up tonight? No one on Zoom? Anything from anyone? All right. Item 8 then is the adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion we adjourn.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Made by Linda Beal, second by Mark Moonen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? You're out at 7:44.
Thank you.